Hello, my name is Roger Johnson, and I will be walking you through the setup and utilization of the options for part tracking and revision control inside of Sigmatek. What are the basics? What even is part tracking? How do I set it up? What if I make revisions to tracked parts? How can I easily reference those changes made? Well, let's take a look. What is part tracking? Well, part tracking is the ability to keep a working list of workspaces and nests and even static nests that any specific parts may be placed in. The reason why you would want to do this is just in case revisions or changes would be made to that part, you can update those items easily. And where do I see this information? To see this information, you can go to the part tracking window by going to the workspace tab, hitting the drop down for the parts list, and then select part tracking. From here, you can browse all the parts that you are currently tracking. Hit the drop down menu, the little plus icon, to show all items that the part is currently within, such as individual workspaces, nests, and even static nests. This information will consist of what computer the physical file is stored on, the path to find that physical file, should it need altering, as well as if the part is currently not up to date. Well, now that I know what this is, how do I set it up? You can go to the part parameters window for the part in question. There will be a demonstration on this later in the webinar. Open the part tracking tab at the top of the window by clicking, then check the box, track this part. And that's all there is to it. Let's see it in action. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is find a part and enable part tracking. I'm going to look for a specific part for the HK machine. That's the one that I want to work with today. Let's do the L10038. I'm going to hit the load button, that's going to load it into my workspace. Then I'll hit OK. Once it's loaded into the workspace, I can go over to the parts tab and I can edit it from here, or I can simply right click the part name and hit the part parameters window. So I can hit the part parameters window in the parts tab, or I can just right click and select it from there. Once I'm inside of this window, I go over to the tracking item and I say track this part. Once that's enabled, I can save it, and whenever it's done saving, it will let me know what workspaces I put it in from then on. Now, anything that's been edited in the past will not have been tracked because the enable tracking wasn't on. It will have to be enabled before you can start tracking it and keeping up with workspaces. It won't be retroactive. So now that I've got this on, I tell it I do want to replace the file with my updates, and from now on, anytime that I work with this file, it will let me know. So let's give it a shot. I'm going to go ahead and just toss this in to a task. just this one part just because I want to make sure that it's working. And then I'll hit OK. I'm just going to go with whatever defaults are currently enabled and hit my auto nest button. Nest my one part, not a waste of material at all. Then I'm going to hit my auto NC button and it will imply NC to the nest and give me a nice little crop line to work off of. And then I'll just go ahead and post it out. I'm going to name the program. The task name is T8. So we're just going to mimic that. T8, post all. Now I'm going to go ahead and save my workspace because that's what you do after you post out. Very important. I'm going to hit save as. And I'm also going to name this workspace the same, T8. So that way I know where everything is. Now you don't have to name it this way. I'm doing it very cut and dry. You can name this based off of a job that might be going out and it has a bunch of tasks within. It's capable of doing whatever you need it to do. This is just my organizational topic for this example. Now I'm going to go ahead and hit save. Now from here I can go ahead and clear off the workspace. It doesn't matter. I've saved everything. So I can go ahead and get rid of that. And I can go back into my parts list and I can pull up that exact same part that we had before. So the only thing that I typed in was up here. I typed in HK. And then I went to the L10038. Now I've got a little plus button here that I can click and it's going to tell me where that part is currently found. So I can see that there are parts from the HK laser found inside of a nest. And it will give me the information on that. Alternatively, I can go ahead and go to the part tracking option and I can see which part I'm looking for. So right here I can see the 10038 and then I can go into there and see what it's a part of. You can also click and drag these up here for a little bit better organization depending on what you need. I'm going to go ahead and hit the drop down here and I'm going to see, oh, okay, so yeah, this is the L10038. Now what nest was that in? I can hit the drop down and it will tell me it's in T8 workspace. I can load up that workspace file right now, which is in this location. It's actually telling me the path where I can find it. And from there, I can load in that workspace. So I'm going to go ahead and give that a shot. See users, public documents, SN data demo, workspace. So I'm going to go ahead and path to that. I'm going to hit my open button. See users, public documents, SN data demo, and workspace. So it looks like what I'm looking for is T8, and there it is. I'm going to go ahead and hit open. And now we can see that I have found the workspace that was named based off of the task with that part inside of it. From here, I can make changes or alterations as needed, or update this workspace with a new part information. Revision control. Now, we saw this briefly in the last video. Let's go over it in a little bit more detail here. So as you can see, there's a lot of information inside of the part tracking that can be seen regarding revision control, but the majority of the information on revisions will actually be inside of the parts list itself, which we saw earlier. If you open the parts list, you'll see that all the parts that you have saved into the Sigmatek database are actually located here. You can reference them, check them out, make sure that the information is correct, edit them here. All of it's right here inside of your parts list. After you've found the part that you're specifically concerned with, you can hit the drop-down selector, the little plus symbol to the left of them, and it will actually do a drop-down of all the previous versions of that part, all the previous iterations. This allows for the reversion of revisions, as well as the working list of changes from one part version to another. So if you save it every time you make a change, you will actually have an active list of different changes that were made all inside of Sigmatek ready for you to reference anytime you need it. Now to enable revision saving, you actually first go to the Tools Help tab and select the Configuration button. From there, select the Tracking and Revisions tab, which is actually on the left-hand side, as opposed to the top, like most of them are. And then enable part tracking by simply clicking the Keep Part Revision History checkbox. Once that's enabled and you hit the OK button, it will actually start keeping that part information from then on. The Tracking and Revisions tab. There's a lot of information in here, so let's go over it just a little bit. You can mark new parts for tracking automatically. This will actually enable all of the parts created to be created as the base part and start the process for tracking revisions without having to enable them all in the part parameters. So any new parts that are made from this point on will automatically start being tracked. If you turn this on pretty early, then you don't have to retroactively go back and enable part tracking on each part. And this can save you a lot of work in the future. But it does have to be active here for it to start doing that function where every new part you bring in, it will start enabling that base save. Otherwise, you will have to manually go in there and enter that you want them to be saved every time they're created. Keep part revision history. This is what allows you to hit the drop down and keep a saved part file of the revisions that came prior to this one. So the most updated part could be revision 13, 14, and all the revisions prior to are saved if you keep the part revision history. So this checkbox actually enables that functionality. Automatic revision prefix. So if I place the prefix as rev here, now instead of the revision information simply saying 1, 2, or 3, or A, B, or C, it'll now say rev 1, rev 2, rev 3, or rev A, rev B. You get it. Excluded characters is actually going to represent items that you don't want to be represented inside of the new part name, like the revision number or the part name itself. These are going to be things that Windows just doesn't jive with really well. A lot of the times you'll find things like ampersands or ampersands, percentiles, because those are already Windows functions. You don't usually want to include them in your file names. So if you want to exclude characters, you can do that here. Save a base revision the first time a revision is added, which is number 5. To save a base copy of that first revision of the part, you can select this, and this will be useful if you want to view or edit the original part after you've already made changes and revisions and such. So it'll keep that initial part, and then once you make your first revision, it'll still have that base copy if you ever need to reference it for any reason. Base revision title. This will be what you call the initial save. It defaults to base. You can change this to whatever you want. You can say original or ORG, whatever you need to put there. New parts are automatically released for manufacturing. You can enable this or disable this as needed. So it's just a little checkbox. You hit it if you want it to. You deselect it if you don't want it to. And then on the right-hand side, for number 8, you're going to see revision increment, and you can select it either numerical, where it'll go, each revision is revision 1, 2, 3, or revision A, B, C, as selected. So as you can see here, I've got my SG20 part. This is the part that I'm going to be editing. Now I'm going to go up to the parts list, my part parameter icon, and I'm going to select the tracking tab. From here, we're going to enable tracking on this part. So from now on, any changes that I made will up the revision number. You can see this because we're currently working with revision 2. Now, if I wanted to edit this part a little bit further, say maybe edit the geometry, make this circle equal those circles, I can go ahead and make that edit by going in here, or maybe even removing that circle entirely. I can remove that circle entirely. I can hit my little checkbox and rebuild the part. Now that that circle's gone, I've updated the part. I can go into my part parameters, and before saving, I want to make sure that I hit the revision up button. So this is revision 2 now. And then I can hit the save icon. Go ahead and save. Yes, I do want to replace the file, and that's going to update my inventory list. Now from here, I can go into the workspace, and I can hit my parts list button, and I can go to my SG part, and I can see SG20, and revision 2 is the most up-to-date file. Now, revision 2 does have other iterations, which I can see if I hit the drop-down menu. Now that I've updated my SG20 part to be Rev 2, I want to make sure that anything that isn't using Rev 2 is also up to date. Here's the best way to do that. So the first thing that I'm going to check is I'm going to make sure that there are previous versions of that SG20 part. Because if there aren't, then I just named it Rev 2 by accident. So let's just go ahead and check just to be certain. And I can see that there is a drop down, so we definitely know that there are some other parts. I got revision numbers 1, 2, base, Rev 1, and Rev 2. So this is definitely a prime suspect for workspaces that need to be updated. So now I can actually go into my drop down list and hit my part tracking item. And inside of here, I'm just going to be looking for different workspaces with parts in them that have turned red. That's going to throw me a little red flag stating that there's been an issue, like right here. So I can see that this part currently has an updated version or a more up-to-date version. So I can go ahead and get that taken care of. Looks like it's inside of my test 2 workspace. I can see that both of the other workspaces that I've saved and kept my file names of are good to go. So this is the only one that I need to update. So we're going to go ahead and load up that test 2 workspace. So I'm going to go to my open workspace button. I'm going to type in here test. Sorry about that. Test 2, and it pops right up. I'm going to go ahead and open that up into the workspace. Now from here, my parts are all kind of scattered out. I'm going to go ahead and hit this part tile button so I can get a nice easy view. It looks like this is my part, and it's definitely got that internals here still. So I'm going to go ahead and go over to the task, and I'm going to see that that internal is still out of date. So from here, what I want to do is I just want to update that part. So what I can do here is I can actually go over to that part, the SG20 part, and I'm going to right click and go to my part parameters. Now inside of my part parameters, I'm going to get a warning that says this part may be out of date. I can actually just click that button and it will tell me that there's a newer part here. Do you want to load it instead of using this one? I'm going to hit yes, and then I'm going to hit OK. It's already updated the part as seen in the geometry at the top left. I'm going to hit the OK button. It's going to load it into the workspace. Now, it'll say here, some layouts have NC. If you are updating a part that has already been NC'd, you do need to remove the NC and reapply NC to that part. Otherwise, it's going to try to still cut that hole. So we're going to go ahead and remove NC and update the parts. So now you can see that I've got that hole removed. I'm able to go ahead and go into my nesting NC, hit my auto NC button. And then once this is done NCing, I can repost it out if I need to, or I can just save the workspace. And now we're good to go. I'm going to go ahead and hit that part tile button again. Save it one more time. And there we go. I've updated the workspace with the new part, and the next time that anybody needs to cut this workspace, it will definitely have the most updated parts that it has available to it. Now, alternatively to going to your parts tracking and then selecting work by workspace and then going through all of these, you can actually go down here to this filter and select workspaces with out of date parts. You can do browsable by this computer, missing, part CAD file source changed, you know, whatever you need to do, and it will actually automatically load them into this and let you know that there's something that needs to be edited. So I'm going to go ahead and select workspaces with out of date parts, and then I can see all of the items that are listed. So I've deselected that. Now it's showing me everything. I can see that this one's got an out of date part. So I'm actually going to turn on workspaces with out of date parts, and now only that one workspace is going to show up. It will change the color to green, but it's just letting you know that that is definitely a part file. And as you've already filtered workspaces with out of date parts, it's showing you only parts that are already out of date and need to be edited. And it's already telling me what workspace that's in. So it's just letting me know which part and then what workspace it's in. From here, I can quickly make any edits to 20, 30 different workspaces quickly and efficiently. And as I get them done, they'll be removed from this list automatically. As always, thank you for taking the time to listen to our webinar on part tracking and revision control. Keep an eye out for other newsletters, emails, updates from the Sigmatek team by signing up for the newsletter on the Connect site at connect.sigmatek.com. If you have any questions, please let us know either by asking now in the chat or by asking our support team. You can reach out to us via our support phone line or by our support inbox, or our Connect site even has a button for that. As always, thank you for coming. We hope we'll see you all next time. Have a wonderful day.